Thanks for using our touchscreen syringe pump. Here we would like to introduce you our pump and let you know how to use our pump. First, let me introduce you the structure of our pump. This is the keypad area with buttons and an operation indicator light, a non-light, and AC power indicator. This is the power key, this is stop and start, this is bolus key, and this is home key. This is the touchscreen areas. We have the biggest touchscreen in the world with 4.3 inches. Here, this is the handle. You can fold or pull up. Here is the push and pull box. And here is the stroke. You can turn all degrees. At the back side, you will find the pull clamp, which can install the syringe pump onto the IV pull clamp. And behind the cover, you will find the USB interface to upgrade software. And here, this is the DC input interface. This is a reset button. Here, this is the AC power input socket, and this is a loudspeaker. This is a RDA interface. And by the button, this is a stackable structure, and here you can find a latch to unlock the stackable structure if you want to separate them. Now, let's install the pump on the pull clamp. This syringe pump can use syringes from 5, 10, 20, 30 to 50 and 60. Now, let's install a syringe. Put these flanges into this groove and click the claw to lock it and push back the stroke. Now, let's power on by press the power key. It will test the pump and then it will go into the whether you want to use the last treatment interface. It will remind you. You click yes or no, and then if you are not connected to the AC power, it will remind you no power supply. Defaultly, it will go to the time mode. If you want to use any other mode, you can click here and choose any other modes. Now, let me introduce you the main interface of the syringe pump by press the home key. By the main interface, you will find 6 columns with most settings, general, patient, records, and system. By the mode, click into it. You will find rate, time, and body weight mode. We can start with rate mode. By rate mode, you can just need to input the rate and start, or you can put a VTBI, like 20 ml, and the time will be calculated. Clear the volume before you start and start. By this running interface, you will find the biggest font with the rate. You can read 5 meters away, and also you can find the dynamic pressure system indicated here. This is the current pressure level. This is current pressure, and this is the max pressure of the current pressure level. And here, this is the unit of current pressure. Here you can find the VTBI. Volume to be infused, time left, and volume, accumulated volume here. And if you want to change the rate during infusion, you only need to click the rate here and change a rate you want to change to, and the pump will operate with the new rate. And if you want to use bolus, we have 2 choices. First is the manual bolus by press the hardware key, and if you want to end it, you can release it. But 1 ml, it will beep to remind you. Or the second is you can use automatic bolus or programmable bolus by press the software bolus key. But here you can set the bolus VTBI like 10 ml, and the bolus rate you can set maybe 600 ml. And the bolus time will be calculated automatically. Press start, and it will start with the automatic bolus. Also beep every 1 ml. And if you want to end the bolus in advance, you just end, and the pump will go back the original flow rate you have just set it. If you want to stop the operation, just stop. Okay, let's go to the time mode. By time mode, you can see you can set the VTBI and the time like 30 minutes. The rate will be calculated, and press start. They will start with the rate it has been calculated. Stop. Now let's find the body weight mode. By body weight mode, you need to input parameters like weight, concentration, dose rate, and VTBI. Let's start with the patient weight, like 60 kg. And the concentration. By concentration, you can change the unit of concentration. We have multiple choices here. And active agentia, like 300 mg. Volume will be 100 ml, and the concentration will be calculated automatically. Go back, and then you put a dose rate. By dose rate, it will remind you whether you want to change the current dose rate. If you yes, you can go this interface and change the units, and then you input the dose rate like 10 ml or 10 UG per kg per minute, and then the rate will be calculated as 12 ml per hour. And you can also set a VTBI like 3 ml, okay? And start. The pump will operate. Okay, stop. Now we go back to the main interface and find the setting interface. By setting interface, you can find the drug library first. By drug library, you can choose the commonly used drugs, or you can also default the drug library with your doctor's requirement. And by KVO, you can set the KVO rate from 0.1 to 5 ml. Default one is 1 ml. And by bolus rate, our max rate is 1,500 ml per hour for the 50 ml syringe. If you want to use a lower rate, you can just change. And here, if you have calibrated any brand of syringe into the system, you can choose the brand you want to use. Well, we use the user default one for test, so we choose here. And by the second page of the settings, you will find the occlusion pressure. You can choose from, for this model, you can choose from the pressure level 1, 2, 3. The default one is 1, 2. And then you can also change the pressure unit. And here, the reminder alarm. It will remind you not using the pump after you set the parameters to remind the loss. Now you can choose different times. And the finish pre-alarm, it means to remind you the pump is going to finish the VTBI and before maybe 2 minutes to 30 minutes. and the third page will be micro mode. By micro mode, because sometimes by mistake, maybe the nose will input 1,500 ml per hour instead of 150 ml per hour, which is very dangerous to patients, especially the newborns or small babies. For example, by default it's turned off. You turn it on and you choose the rate. The minimum rate for the micro mode is 100 ml per hour. You can set 230 or 600 and turn back. And if you have micro mode on, no speed more than 600 ml per hour will be okay. Okay, we'll turn it off and go back. And you can also reset total volume here. Now let's go to the general interface. You can find the date and the time. You can choose different format for the date. And by time, you can also use different, you can also change it. And you can use different format for date and time here. Okay. And for the time, you can use PM, AM, or use 24 hours format. And the brightness, you can change the brightness of the pump with 12 or 10 levels, sorry. And by the sound, you can see we have 10 levels of sound. The default one is 10%. And by screen lock, it means if you want the pump to be screen locked after you haven't used it from 15 seconds to 30 seconds, 30 minutes, you can just select any one you want to use. And there is a night mode by the second page. And night mode, you can set the night mode begin with, end when, and the night mode brightness. And also the battery capacity display, you can choose from how many hours left or how many percentages left. And the loss core, you need to have an optional loss core connection line to connect with the hospital system. And you can also set the loss core or long levels to be high or medium. By the last page, you will find the letter work. By letter work, it means you need to connect to the Wi-Fi and to the infusion management system. You choose the connection mode with the wire LAN and relay on or off. And then the WLAN, you need to have an optional Wi-Fi module to realize this function. Okay, let's go to the patient information column. You can write the bed number, MRN, name, gender, and also age, weight, height, prescription, and so on. Now let's come to the records. Click it and enter it. Our pump has up to 5,000 entries, history entries. You can see the entries will be with the serial numbers and receipt what you have done and the time stamp with date and time. And there is another function, last therapy. It means the records 20 last therapies. If you want to have a faster start after you have stop the pump to find a rate or mode you have used before. For example, you want to use the time mode again, and then you click it and then start. Will be very fast to save some time in emergency cases. And you can also export history records and clear all records with the password possible. And by the system interface, you can change the language of the pump. Now we have different languages. And by the factory default, you can clear user data or clear all settings if you don't know whether you have set some parameters by mistake, but you will require the password. By the version, you will find the serial number and the main software version and the driver software as well as device version. By the maintenance, you will need a password with 3312. Here, you can calibrate the syringes into the pump. If you want to use a different brand of syringe, you can add a new brand, delete or calibrate. For more details, you can refer to our video of how to calibrate the syringes to a pump. And also, you can find the sensor information, sensor calibration, and the memory information. Okay, we have finished the introduction of the pump and about how to operate the pump. Thank you.